One of the biggest trends in fandom culture is shipping, or choosing characters we think would be ideal romantic pairings. And Warrior Cats probably has more of that than most fandoms do, with the sheer amount of characters in its cast. But which ships have prevailed as most popular? That's what this video aims to answer. I did a poll that asked you who your favorite pairings were, with a selection of Warrior Cats. The poll got 1,968 responses in total, but I allowed you to leave questions blank, so the amount of people responding on a question-by-question basis ranged from 1,056 all the way up to 1,850. A solid 10 plus hours of data cleaning. It was so much that I decided to cut a couple of questions from the original poll for time, but I got most of them included. So let's go through some cats one by one to determine your best ships. Every cat who received at least 1% of the vote will be shown. That means at least 11 to 19 people voted for them, depending on the question. The cats under 1% are not worth showing, because we end up seeing way too many troll responses for me to deal with. And there are a few problematic ships that squeaked above that 1% margin, but to keep the integrity of the polls intact, I decided to not censor the results. I think it'd be more useful to show them and then explain why the ships are not okay, and I don't want to set the precedent that I lie about poll results, so you're going to see a couple of yucky ones. But please give the voters the benefit of the doubt. It's most likely they are casual fans who simply don't know the characters well enough to see the problems, or trolls. First up, Firestar. His results are heavily in favor of Sandstorm. Going forward, a lot of these results will be voters just picking the canon pairing because they're boring. But to be fair, Graystripe's here too. He's pretty cool. And a lot of Firestar's potential ships are very controversial, such as Spotted Leaf, Longtail, and Cinderheart, hotly debated because of the age gaps. I personally prefer Spotted Leaf being a one-sided crush, but I think for Spotted Leaf and Longtail you can make an argument that Into the Wild is very ambiguous with the ages, and you could headcanon them in a way that works for your ship. But Cinderheart, I will draw the line there. She is Fireheart's apprentice. I don't like that dynamic. Now 1-star, I didn't really think about, but that's a good choice. I like people thinking outside the box. For Graystripe, we had a battle between his two canon options and Firestar. Silverstream pulls fairly far ahead. Personally, I find Millie to be the cuter option, but I get that maybe a lot of voters haven't read that far. Ravenpaw, it's a barley landslide, as expected. The Fire Raven shippers barely managed to be visible. Bluestar has one of the most interesting ship battles, with a really boring winner just being her canon mate Oakhart, but yeah, Yellowfang shipping is incredibly popular. A lot of people empathize with Thrushpelt and his crush on her. Rosetail is my personal Bluestar ship, because of all the cute emotional support moments she had in Bluestar's prophecy. And then Crookedstar probably only made the list for that one Crookedpaw interaction at the gathering. And Whitestorm? No. I'm going to give voters the benefit of the doubt because his relationship to Bluestar isn't made super clear in the prophecies begin, but Whitestorm is Bluestar's nephew, and them being kin is a major plot point in Bluestar's prophecy. So don't ship them. The Tigerstar ship vote was chaotic to say the least. He has his two canon pairings, but Darkstripe, the ultimate Tigerstar simp, snuck in between them. Sasha wins in spite of their relationship not being the best, because I think people just like Sasha as a character. The himself category is a combination of people who responded himself and Tigerstar. Now you may think this is funny, but I tell you, it was not funny for me because every single cat in this video had himself and herself responses, and I had to go through them manually because it's not an actual character. For every single cat. You're just seeing the cats where it had more than 1%. Scourge. Did I include him in the poll just to see how many people would respond with the infamous and questionable Scourge X Ashfur meme? Of course. And there it is. Do not ask me how Spotted Leaf made the list. I do not know. Brightheart is a Cloudtail landslide, but congrats to Daisy shippers on voting enough to make the list. Tallstar is a Jake sweep, over 85% compared to no other cat getting more than a single percent. The new Prophecy cats have a lot of interesting ship battles in my opinion, so let's get things swinging with Brambleclaw. Of course, being the most hated cat according to my other poll, it's no surprise 50% of people want him to be with nobody. But you know what? Squirrelstar still got a quarter of the vote and more than any single cat. It's not all hate. Jesse, Ashfur, and Stormfur, even combined, don't reach Squirrelstar votes. And the other category is so high because people were shipping him with various ways to die. So, that's Brambleclaw haters for you. Squirrelstar has so many ships, it's crazy. The most ship options out of every cat in this video. And still, nobody wins. But rather than people wishing ill of Squirrelstar, the sentiment here is more that they think she should be strong and independent. I know that because people said that instead of typing nobody like I asked. And I had to go through all these votes manually. Yay. Anyway, Brambleclaw wins out of all the cats despite their pairing being hated so much. The sheer amount of options showing that there's really no widely agreed upon alternative other than nobody. Personally, I don't really have a ship for Squirrelstar either. I think Shrewpaw was too much of a background cat. The other questing cats feel more about proximity than ship potential. I think Moonlight and Daisy both sound cute as a concept, but I don't really recall Squirrelflight having any chemistry with either of them. And Ashfur, yeah, I support that ship only if it means Bristlefrost survived. I see people already shipping Tawnypelt with Leafstar because both are protagonists for the next arc. Her kinmate Ravenclaw feels a little plain, but just picking cats from the Prophecy quest feels kinda plain too. Yeah, let's ship Leafstar. Crowfeather has 4 different canon ship options, and of them, Leafpool beats out Feathertail, and not many people support his divorced wife Nightcloud, as it's literally a major plot point that they don't truly love each other. Oh, and Tawnypelt got below 1% because I put out this poll before Elder's Quest released. Squirrel and Crow are shipped mainly for their playful teasing during the quest, and Hairstar I'm actually surprised to see here. I didn't know he was a ship. Fun fact, Hairstar has no family. I'm serious, he just spawned in one day. Stormfur has a Brook landslide, but his short-lived crush on Squirrelflight won over a few voters as well. And then others put him with Brambleclaw or Tawnypelt, so we got more Prophecy Quest representation in this vote. Feathertail has overwhelming Crowfeather votes due to her ship options not being quite as obvious. Tawnypelt is nice, I guess, but the real Feathertail fans read her graphic novel and know to ship her with Ferncloud or Sasha, depending on which cat stood out to you more. And Nightcloud and Leafpool come from people wanting all the Crowfeather girlfriends to get together. Some people even voted for both Nightcloud and Leafpool, but those votes are less than 1%, so they're part of other. Leafpool's options were rather limited, and one of the very few times the canon ship actually loses to a non-canon one, with Mothpool reigning supreme. Poor Sorrelleaf shippers had no chance going against 2 of the most popular pairings in the fandom. If we look at Mothwing, well, it's a Leafpool sweep. Ashfur's results are full of trolling, with Scourge and Mapleshade both being options. Hawkfrost of course is an option because you can't just plot to take out a clan leader without forming a romantic bond. Jayfeather's vote is home to the most successful troll voting attempt. Stick got over 13% of votes. We have another fan pairing beating out the canon one, with Briarlight triumphing over Half Moon. Good, Jaybriar is cute as heck. And for the rare pairs, we have Poppyfrost, I think, just because of the scene where Bristlefrost attacks them, fellow medicine cats Kestrelflight and Flametail, and the annoying kitty pet Fuzzball. Lionblaze's long-term mate, Cinderheart, is understandably far ahead of his childhood crush, Heathertail, and Berrynose is there too because rivals becoming lovers is highly popular for fanfiction. Icecloud and Toadstep, I couldn't tell you why they're here. I barely remember they exist, much less ship them with anyone. Hollyleaf is all over the place. She's shipped with an ancient ghost, a cat on the opposite side of the lake, a creepy stranger, and her cousin. Obviously, Violetshine or Cinderheart are the best options here, or nobody. It's debatable if Fallen Leaves is weird or not, but Ivypool is just straight up bad. With them being Firestar's kin being so major to the plot, I don't know how people forget they're cousins. Don't ship them! I think Arrow Ace Hollyleaf is my personal headcanon. Her true love is the warrior code. And pizza. Oh, the Dovewing ships. I expected Tigerstar to destroy Bumblestripe, but did not expect Briarlight and Foxleaf to be options. That's interesting. I already talked about the mess that is Ivypool Hollyleaf, but I'm not off the hook for discussing problematic Ivypool ships because we have Ivypool x Hawkfrost getting over 7% of the vote. I know fanfic writers like evil boyfriends, but the age gap combined with Hawkfrost first meeting Ivypool when she's an apprentice makes this way too creepy as a ship. And it's no surprise at all the writing team never put anything in the books that would even remotely suggest this. So don't like that ship. On a lighter note, Fern's song wins, obviously. Blossomfall is cute. And Icestar. It's kinda interesting to see all the support, considering Ivypool's heart is so recent still. Cinderheart only gets shipped with the 3. Unfortunate for her. Hollyleaf is working very hard to steal her away from Lionblaze, but came up short. For Briarlight, Jayfeather is far and away the most popular, which I like that ship. And behind is Dovewing, I assume as an alternative to Dovebumble, which we also saw on the Dovewing chart. For Tigerstar 2, you voted as boring as you possibly could, only choosing Dovewing or nobody. Now Soul, we got lots of options. Soul shipping is one of the most up to interpretation cats we have, because we have no idea how old he is. Blackstar would explain how he fell for Soul's manipulation so easily, because he's cute. I headcanon Soul closer to Leafstar's age, but I don't ship them. I don't ship him with anyone, so I can see why over 50% chose nobody. Alderheart. We have 3 really good ships here. Needletail is awesome, Velvet is cute as heck, and Puddleshine is solid. Twigbranch barely made the list close to 1%, but I'm going to have to say I am not too big a fan of that one because of the age gap and how Alderheart finds Twigkit as a kit. Twigkit really plays the dynamic of an adopted little sister to Alderpaw more than anything else. The relationship is cute, but it is not a romantic one, by my interpretation. And we have 3 really good alternatives to ship Alderheart with, so take your pick. Needletail. With Violetshine, you run into the same issues I have with Alderheart Twigbranch, so I wouldn't ship them, but again, we have more voted options that are better with Alderheart and Sleekwhisker. Rain sorta depends on what age you headcanon Rain to be. I lean towards either nobody or Alderheart. Twigbranch. Alderheart we already discussed, so that leaves Finleap. I think he is massively overhated, with only 40% of the votes despite him being basically the only option. StarClan forbid we have a character who is written as bad only initially in order to show growth and teach us a very important lesson. But sure, hate Finleap all you want. For Violetshine, we have the simple option of our canon mate tree, the option I don't like with Needletail, and Zelda, randomly out of nowhere, who is basically Violetchine's version of Velvet. I'm sticking with tree for my pick. Leafstar has a ridiculous number of options for us to discuss, but at the same time I don't really find any of her options all that compelling. Billy Storm, her canon mate, is kinda boring. I like Echo Song the most. Squirrelstar fits well enough. Soul is unusual. Tawnypelt makes sense with both of them being protagonists in the next arc. Hawkwing is too young for her. Sharpclaw is awful to her, so I doubt there is any romantic tension there. And I had to look up who Cora was to remember her, so that says how much I know there. Bristlefrost, a simple Rootspring landslide. I don't mind Spot for Stemleaf shippers, I just like Rootspring the most. Shadowsight, things get interesting, because obviously Rootspring is the favorite, but so many rare pairs snuck above the 1% margin, and all of them are awful, some way worse than others. Ashfur and Snowtuff are very old ghosts, Puddleshine is his mentor, Frostdawn is a bit young for him, Sunbeam and Bristlefrost are options, but they also barely interact with Shadowsight, so it's hard to imagine them with him. Poor Shadowsight just doesn't get around enough to have many good ships, so Rootspring or nobody is where I stand. Rootspring. He simply romances with all the Broken Code protagonists, including himself. Frostdawn. Of course, Whistlebreeze is her top option, far and away the cat she has the most chemistry with. Nightheart makes sense considering they quested together, and Splashtail is unfortunately an option she does consider canonically, despite how bad of a match they are. But why would someone choose Splashtail when Nightheart and Whistlebreeze are options? I could never understand. Nightheart is overwhelmingly paired with Sunbeam, Frostdawn also exists, as we know, and Bayshine and him are both in the Firestar family, so I wouldn't ship them. Sunbeam, we have our canon pairing Nightheart, with my favorite pairing Lightleap trailing behind. Her original crush Blazefire makes enough sense. Finchlight I feel like is only there because she's Nightheart's sister. Shadowsight I still don't really get. Sun Shadow shippers, feel free to explain yourselves in the comments. Now for some Dawn of the Clans with Greywing. All three of his canon love interests show up, with Turtletail largely preferred because, she actually had character development. And Riverstar is kinda there too. I don't know the reasoning, but sure, sounds fine. Skystar, there was a strong push for him to be with nobody because he deserves nobody, but also, all three of his canon love interests show up. I think Skystar and Starflower is icky, but I can't fault the voters because the books canonically pair them together. And I think One Eye is just there because nasty cats deserve each other. Thunderstar. His two canon love interests appear, with his final, albeit a little boring mate, Violet Dawn, coming out on top. But honestly, I choose Violet Dawn too. I think Lightning Tail is a really bad option because he's Thunderstar's adoptive brother. It might not seem like it in the books because Warrior Cat sucks with acknowledging adoptive relationships and mainly focused on his blood connections to Skystar and Greywing. But I would say Lightning Tail is definitely his brother. Don't ship them. That leaves us with the final vote, Mapleshade. Seems most people went for nobody, but she's just too spicy of a character not to include. Frecklewish is the pick. And I mean, she was totally down to raise the kids together had Mapleshade not absolutely hated her. Mylar is a silly pick because he's just a farm cat. Appledusk is the canon option. And Reedshine is sort of the revenge ship for Appledusk lying to both of them. Tigerstar and Ashfur are just people being edgy. And we never met Birchface, so who knows what he's like. And that wraps it up. So overall, there were a lot of fun and interesting options. And some not so good. Again, please don't assume the worst of people who voted for problematic ships. A lot of people just don't have enough knowledge of the books to see the mistake. Not everyone can be as obsessed as some of us are, so don't freak out over the names someone arbitrarily put in a Google form after thinking about it for 2 seconds. I promise it's not that serious. Alright, bye everyone!